Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. It's about time, right? All the back and forth when it comes to Crawford and Spence. Looks like there's been the calm. We didn't know what was going on, and now it seems like we're going to have the storm around October. This is great news. I know a lot of people are frustrated when it comes to this matchup because it just seems like those key decision makers were, enabled to make the fight happen. This has been in the works for the last couple of years, but now it looks like it's not all the way done, but it looks like they're like 95% agreed on everything. It's just a couple really minute details that these guys are working on. And if they can get that resolved, which shouldn't be a problem, these guys are going to get it on around October, man. And I think that's excellent, because you go in September, unification, undisputed unification with Shields and Savannah Marshall, and then boom, you go right into Spence and Crawford. And I think it is amazing. So at long last, finally, Spence and Crawford are gonna meet at 147 pounds. And, it's cool because Spence holds 3 of the belts. Crawford only holds 1. And it looks like they're going to be fighting in Las Vegas. But with these negotiations, right, no one's privy to the specifics going on behind the agreements in order for the fight to be made. But one thing I do know is PBC, they're definitely going to be the pay-per-view source, man. So I don't know if Crawford agreed to a multi-fight deal. I'm not sure. But we know that Crawford, he came out after he broke away from Top Rank and said, I'm free to do whatever I want. So I'm not sure if I can see Crawford going back into a deal where he feels like his hands are tied. But then again, they could put something in front of him that's such a lucrative offer, such an attractive deal, where he has some freedom, he has some flexibility. He in some instances can work autonomously. It may be a situation where, because Al Heyman's all about the fighter. I've said this before, Al Heyman is all about the boxer, and he wants to make the fight. So no one's going to take advantage of Bud Crawford. One, is Bud's not going to let that happen. Two, Al Heyman is not about that. He's not about that. So I think this is a good situation, and I am so glad because they're not going to push stuff like this out unless it's true. This information is coming from reputable sources, and that's great. But we'll see. We'll see, man. Crawford is saying nothing's standing in the way, and he's just ready to get it on. And who really cares about rankings? But a lot of people have Crawford as the number 1 pound for pound. We know ESPN had him number 1 when he was signed to ESPN. But, him coming out, clipping Sean Porter the way he did, got to give him credit for that. But at the same time, Porter has been through some wars. And then Porter's dad, Kenny Joe Jackson, Porter, came out and almost took away from Crawford's win by saying Porter wasn't doing what he was supposed to. And that could be a situation where Roy Jones, like with Roy Jones and his father, when his father came back in his corner for a rematch, I don't know if it was for Tarver or for Glenn Johnson, but Roy Jones Jr.'s dad came back in his corner, and Roy Jones said part of him didn't want to win that fight to make his dad seem like he only won because of his father. And with Sean Porter, what I gather, he just seemed to be a little tired because his dad had a little Joe Jackson in him. But you look at the end of that fight, it doesn't matter. Crawford turned up the heat when he had to. He was getting a bit overwhelmed and, taking his time. But going into a fight with Errol Spence, I'll say this. It's a competitive matchup. People are split. A lot of people think Spence is going to win because Spence can box, he can punch, he can brawl, he can swarm. Crawford is more boxer, puncher, counter puncher. He's not a brawler. He's not a swarmer. Crawford is more counter punch, boxer, puncher type fighter. And when you bring those two together, it's just a matter of who can impose their will. But Spence, this is, man, it's hard to pick someone, but I'm going to say, like I always say, where I try to stay neutral, but I think Spence throws so many shots that he's either going to overwhelm Crawford and catch Crawford one of those shots, or he's just going to create unnecessary openings. Crawford's going to counter him. And Spence can be hurt. Spence can be hurt. So it's one of those pick'em fights. It really is. It really is a pick'em fight. But I'm going to give the edge here to Crawford to be smart and pick shots. I just don't see Spence being able to get Crawford against the ropes and Crawford just going to a shell like what Ugas did. Kind of Danny Garcia is a counterpuncher, but he's a little slow. He's slower than Crawford. He couldn't get his timing right. He was looping the right hand. He was not working effectively behind the jab. Danny Garcia just got overwhelmed. He really did. And Spence's work rate is crazy. But if for some reason Crawford can't handle that work rate of Spence, Crawford can get behind on those cars and just start getting beat down, broken down, and we could see him get knocked out. But I think with a lot of punching and a high output, it creates openings. And I think Spence is going to have a lot of success. I just think there's going to be opportunities for Crawford, who's going to be able to counter, is concrete in both hands. It's just tough. It's tough, man. I'll sit here, man, and break down this fight and analyze it, and then I can see Spence winning. And then you look at it, and I can see Crawford winning. And that's what's so intriguing about this matchup, and I'm so grateful that it's happening. You know, it really is, because it's like I said in the beginning of this video, you know, the sport's inability to deliver the fight has been a source of frustration amongst, you know, all the boxing fans for years, man. But the fight is bigger now than ever. And I will say this, with Mayweather and Pacquiao, I still thought the fight was great. The time was great. But they were a little bit kind of getting beyond their prime. These two guys are still in their prime. And that's what makes this good. Yeah, a couple of years ago it would have been nice, but they're not. This isn't like 5 years, you know, late. This isn't a fight that's 5, 6, 7 years late. This fight is on time. And it's happening during the undisputed distinction season. And that's what's so good about it. That is what's so good about it. But for those of you who are concerned about Spence and the car accident and the detached retina and the anchors he has in his retina to hold it in place, and him going to have, that's going to be the reason why he struggles in the Crawford fight. Yo, man, hold your horses. Don't take it to the stupid. Kill the noise. Spence came out and proved, you know, that whatever happened to him in a car accident doesn't affect his boxing. Whatever happened with the retina didn't affect his performance with Ugas. Spence is about to sneeze. Excuse me. But when it comes to Spence, he proved that none of that matters. So we're not going to get any excuses going into this fight with Crawford. I just hope neither one of them get injured during sparring sessions as they prepare for each other. Like that's the one thing that I'd be concerned about, is just working so hard that they injure themselves doing road work, injure themselves doing, you know, calisthenics and weight training, injure themselves during sparring. That's my biggest concern. But we're going to see, man. Terrence wanted to fight, said he's nothing holding him back, no more cross the street BS. Errol Spence says, hey, I'm coming for that MNF and belt. So now we as fight fans, we're going to get it. But what I do think this fight can boil down to is really who has the better engine. They both have IQs. They both have the brain. They both have the boxing ability. They both have the counter-punching ability. They both have the power, okay? But this, what it could come down to is who has the best engine, stamina. Who has the stamina? Who can get that second, third, and fourth win? And they're going to need it, because I have a feeling this is going to be one of those fights where it's going to be, you know, extremely fast pace. And Spence is a guy, he may throw a few jabs and kind of feel you out, but once he starts to work, he starts to work. And he's never been in a fight where his punch output is drastically reduced. No, he gets busy. But one thing I know is Spence had a nutritionist for his preparation for, what's his name, Ugas. I'm not sure if Crawford has a nutritionist. But for this fight, they need to pull out all the stops. The nutritionist, make sure they're sleeping properly, make sure they're taking the right supplementation, make sure they're, of course, doing the VADA testing, they're getting the proper amount of rest. Like, there has to be a balance, because each facet of training shares equal importance, and these guys need to get it right. If someone doesn't get it right, I don't want to hear no excuses. But I am looking forward to this fight, and I'm excited. Kind of split on who's going to win. I'll let you guys talk about that, but we just have to see. You know, because Errol Spence isn't Sean Porter, but Terrence Crawford isn't Yugas. So we'll see what's going on. That being said, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Shout out to the veterans. Y'all keep cool. As always, I am in the breeze.